You have a Ferrari. The engine is perfect. That engine is your mind, finely tuned, capable of extraordinary performance, designed by the universe itself to transport you to any destination you conceive. The destination is set with crystalline clarity. Your goal shimmers on the horizon, whether it is wealth, influence, health, or the manifestation of your deepest desire. You turn the key. The engine roars to life. You feel the vibration of potential coursing through the machine. But every time you fill the gas tank, it is empty an hour later. You're not driving anywhere. You're not moving toward that shimmering goal. You're just leaking fuel on the driveway, watching it pool and evaporate, dollar after dollar of premium energy wasted on the concrete while you sit confused in the driver's seat, wondering why nothing ever moves forward. Prentice Mulford, a pioneer who walked this earth over a century ago, looked at humanity and saw this exact tragedy playing out in millions of lives. He called most men energy leakers. They possess the power to create empires, to manifest millions, to reshape their entire reality. But they spill it all on petty emotions, trivial irritations, and meaningless mental chatter before they can build a single dime of real value. Prentice Mulford was a forgotten giant, a contemporary of Wallace Wattles, a man who lived in the same transformative era when the masters were decoding the hidden mechanics of reality. While others focused on the technique of attraction or the science of getting rich, Mulford trained his laser focus on something even more fundamental, the battery itself. He taught that thought is not some abstract vapor, not some poetic metaphor. It is a subtle element as real and measurable as electricity coursing through copper wire. You possess a generator within your skull, and that generator produces a limited supply of creative force each day. This is not infinite. You wake up each morning with a full charge, a reservoir of psychic voltage that you can invest in building your future or squander on the trivialities that parade before your attention. If you spend that precious currency on anger at a rude driver, on gossip about a co-worker's failings, on regret about decisions made 5 years ago, you are spiritually bankrupt by noon. Your account is empty. You have nothing left to invest in the vision that could transform your life. The masters taught that thought is creative power, but Mulford went deeper. He taught that thought is expendable power, and most people exhaust their entire daily allocation before breakfast is finished. They wonder why their affirmations feel hollow, why their visualizations produce nothing, why their prayers seem to bounce off the ceiling. The answer is simple and devastating. They are trying to write checks on an overdrawn account. Mulford stood as a guardian at the threshold, warning seekers that before you can create, you must first learn to conserve. Before you can fill your life with abundance, you must stop the hemorrhaging of force that leaves you depleted, frustrated, and wondering why others seem to manifest with ease while you struggle in vain. In this video, we will find the leak. We will trace the invisible fissures in your psyche through which your creative power drains away every single day, unseen but utterly destructive. We will learn how to plug the holes, those habits of thought, speech, and emotion that puncture your energetic reservoir and leave you running on fumes when you should be operating at full capacity. This is not motivational talk. This is engineering. This is the practical mechanics of power conservation that Mulford discovered and that the modern world has almost entirely forgotten. We will stop the waste, seal the breaches, and pressurize your mind for massive creation. By the time we reach the end of this journey, you will understand why you have been exhausted, why your manifestations have been weak, and most importantly, how to reverse the flow. You will learn to become a closed system, a contained nuclear reactor of creative force, building pressure day by day, until your desires have no choice but to materialize in the physical world. The promise is this: plug the leaks, and you will discover that you already possess more power than you ever imagined. You were not lacking ability. You were not cursed by fate. You were simply pouring your Ferrari's fuel tank onto the pavement and wondering why the car would not move. Today, that ends. Today, you become a conservator of force. Today, you stop the waste. Prentice Mulford's core thesis strikes at the foundation of reality itself. Thoughts are things. This is not a feel-good metaphor designed to make you feel better about positive thinking. This is physics. This is chemistry. This is the declaration that every thought you generate is a packet of your life force, a quantum of creative energy that departs from you and enters the world as a real, substantial entity. When you think about your goals, you are sending out builders. When you think about your fears, you are sending out destroyers. When you think about absolutely nothing of consequence, the weather, the traffic, the price of coffee, you are sending out waste. You are throwing gold coins into the sewer system, flushing your creative capital down a drain that leads nowhere. Mulford observed that modern civilization had trained people to be prodigal with their mental substance, spending it as carelessly as a lottery winner spends sudden wealth and then wondering why they end up poor, tired, and defeated. Consider the physics carefully. If thoughts are things, if they are packets of subtle energy that do not simply evaporate, but rather travel outward and create effects in the world, then the conservation of thought becomes the most important practice you can master. You would never walk into a bank, withdraw your entire savings in cash and scatter it randomly on the street while walking home. Yet this is precisely what you do every time you indulge in a thought of irritation at traffic, every time you replay an argument from last week, every time you spend 10 minutes judging a stranger's appearance or choices. You have just thrown a gold coin into the sewer. You have paid life force, your only true currency, for absolutely nothing, no return, no investment, no growth, pure waste. Mulford understood something that modern psychology has only recently begun to rediscover. Mental activity requires energy, and that energy comes from a finite daily reserve. When neuroscientists measure brain activity, they find that thinking burns calories, that concentration depletes glucose, that mental work exhausts the body as surely as physical labor. But Mulford went deeper. He recognized that it is not just the quantity of thinking that matters, but the quality and direction. A thought aimed at your goal is an investment. A thought aimed at nothing is a cost. A thought aimed at what you hate or fear is a donation to your own destruction. You are the investor, the thought is the currency, and the universe is the market that returns to you exactly what you have invested. The tragedy of the untrained mind is that it leaks constantly. It does not hold a thought, it does not direct its force. It simply reacts moment by moment to every stimulus the environment provides. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you send out a burst of rage. There goes $1 of life force. You see a news headline designed to trigger fear, and you spend 5 minutes worrying. There goes another $5. You remember an embarrassing moment from high school, and you cringe for 30 seconds. Another $1 gone forever. By the time you sit down to visualize your ideal life, to impress the formless substance with your clear vision, you are running on empty. Your battery is at 3%. Your visualization has no voltage. It is a dead call, a signal too weak to reach the tower. Mulford observed that the wealthy, the successful, the powerful had one thing in common. They were misers with their mental energy. They did not spend it on trivialities. They did not leak it through gossip or complaint. They hoarded it, concentrated it, and then released it in controlled bursts toward their objectives. This was not cruelty or coldness. This was strategy. This was the recognition that creative power is finite on a daily basis and must be conserved if it is to be useful. A man with $1,000 can invest it and grow wealthy. A man who spends that $1,000 on lottery tickets and fast food will remain poor. The same law applies to thought. You have 1,000 units of mental energy each day. Invest them wisely and you build an empire. Scatter them carelessly and you build nothing. The subtle element of thought operates according to laws as precise as electricity. When you flip a light switch, electricity flows from the power plant through wires to the bulb because the circuit is complete and the resistance is managed. If the wires are frayed, if the connections are loose, if the circuit is broken, the light does not shine. Your mind is a power plant. Your thoughts are the electricity. Your life is the bulb. If the wires are frayed with worry, if the connections are loose with distraction, if the circuit is broken by divided attention, the light of your manifestation will not shine. Mulford's genius was in recognizing that most people are trying to turn on lights while their entire electrical system is compromised by leaks. Every thought you send out is a packet of your life force, and that packet does not return void. It travels into the mental atmosphere, mingles with similar thoughts, and attracts circumstances that match its frequency. This is the law. If you send out a thought of irritation at traffic, you have just invested in more traffic, more irritation, more chaos. You paid life force for that result. You purchased it. The universe does not judge whether your investment is wise. It simply returns what you have ordered. You cannot afford to be unconscious about this. You cannot afford to think carelessly, speak carelessly, or feel carelessly, because every ounce of mental substance you release is working for you or against you, building your future or tearing it down. Mulford would say that if you examined your thoughts for a single day and calculated their direction, you would understand why your life looks the way it does. If 70% of your thoughts are complaints, worries, and judgments, then 70% of your creative force is building a life of problems, fears, and conflict. If 30% of your thoughts are aimed at your vision, then only 30% of your force is available to build that vision. The math is brutal, but it is honest. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are a victim of your own mental spending habits. You have been throwing your fortune away one trivial thought at a time and wondering why you remain poor. The concept is simple, but the implications are revolutionary. If thoughts are things, if mental substance is real, if your daily reservoir of creative force is finite, then the path to power becomes obvious. Stop the leaks. Identify every unnecessary expenditure of mental energy and eliminate it. Become a miser of thought. Hoard your force. Let it build pressure inside you like steam in a boiler, and then release it only toward your chosen target. This is not repression. This is compression. This is the difference between a scattered spray of water that accomplishes nothing and a high-pressure jet that cuts through steel. Mulford is teaching you to become the jet. The untrained mind is a sprinkler system, spinning in circles, watering the weeds as generously as the garden, wasting most of its water on the pavement. The trained mind is a precision irrigation system, delivering every drop exactly where it is needed, producing a harvest that seems miraculous to those who do not understand the mechanics. You have the same amount of water. You have the same amount of mental substance. The difference is not in the supply, but in the conservation and direction. Mulford saw clearly what most never see. The person who learns to save their mental energy will always outperform the person who scatters it, not because they are more talented or more favored by fate, but because they have more power available when it is time to act. This is the foundation of everything that follows. If you do not accept that thoughts are things, that mental energy is real and expendable, that your daily supply is limited and must be conserved, then nothing else will make sense. But if you accept this truth, if you recognize that you have been hemorrhaging creative force your entire life, and that this hemorrhage explains your exhaustion, your failures, and your frustration, then you are ready for the solution. You are ready to find the leaks. You are ready to plug the holes. You are ready to stop spending your fortune on garbage and start investing it in glory. The biggest leaks are not the explosions of rage, they are the dripping faucets. This is the insight that separates Mulford from the common understanding of emotional control. Most people believe that if they avoid major outbursts, if they do not scream at their spouse or punch a wall in fury, they are managing their energy well. Mulford would laugh at this delusion. The major explosions are obvious. You feel them, you regret them. You might even apologize for them. But the silent drains, the constant low-level background radiation of negative thought, these are the assassins that kill your power without ever announcing their presence. The silent replay of an argument from 3 days ago, running in your mind while you drive to work, costing you energy with every mental rerun. The constant low-level worry about money, a grey fog that colors every moment of your day, siphoning creative force hour after hour. The judgment of others, their clothes, their opinions, their lives, a steady drip of mental commentary that leaks your power into the void. Mulford calls this mental tattle-tailing, and it is the most insidious form of energy waste. It is the gossip you engage in silently within your own mind, the constant editorial commentary you provide on everything and everyone you encounter. Someone is wearing an outfit you dislike, and you spend 30 seconds thinking about how terrible their fashion sense is. A co-worker shares an opinion you disagree with, and you spend 5 minutes mentally constructing the perfect rebuttal you will never deliver. You see a news story about a politician or celebrity, and you spend 10 minutes feeling anger or contempt toward a person you will never meet and who has no direct impact on your life. Each of these moments is a leak. Each one is a withdrawal from your power account that buys you nothing, that builds nothing, that serves no purpose except to drain your battery so slowly you do not notice until you are exhausted and depressed. The mathematics of these micro-leaks is devastating. Imagine that a single episode of mental tattle-tailing, 1 minute of silent gossip or judgment, costs you 1 unit of creative force. Now consider that the average person engages in this activity dozens of times per day. A judgment here, a worry there, a replay of a conversation, a fantasy argument, a moment of envy, a flash of resentment. 20 times a day, 50 times a day, 100 times a day for those who are deeply unconscious. You are bleeding out. By noon, your reservoir is half empty, and you have not done a single thing to build your future. You have simply reacted to the stream of stimuli, spending your gold coins on trash, and now you wonder why you lack the energy to visualize your goals with intensity, why your affirmations feel hollow, why you cannot sustain enthusiasm for your dreams. Mulford observed that most people live in a state of chronic mental poverty because they have no awareness of these leaks. They do not track their mental expenditures. They do not audit their thoughts. They simply allow the mind to run wild, commenting on everything, judging everything, worrying about everything, and then they are shocked, genuinely shocked, when they feel exhausted at the end of a day in which they did very little physical work. They blame their exhaustion on their job, on their responsibilities, on their circumstances, never realizing that they have spent more energy judging their co-workers than they spent doing their actual work. They have spent more energy worrying about hypothetical problems than they spent solving real ones. They have spent more energy in mental tattle-tailing than they spent in constructive visualization. The dripping faucet is silent. You do not hear it from the other room. But when you check the water bill at the end of the month, you realize that the slow, steady leak has cost you hundreds of dollars. The same is true of your mental drips. A moment of irritation seems harmless. A brief flash of judgment seems inconsequential. A quick replay of an old argument seems like nothing. But when you audit your mental expenditures at the end of the day, you realize that these tiny leaks have drained you completely. You have spent your entire fortune on nothing. You have paid for exhaustion, frustration, and emptiness. You have purchased exactly what you received. Mulford's warning is urgent. The silent drains are more dangerous than the explosive losses because you do not notice them. When you explode in rage, you at least recognize that you have spent energy. You feel depleted afterward. You might even resolve to do better, but the silent drains happen beneath your awareness. They operate in the background like malware on a computer, consuming processing power and memory without ever displaying an error message. You simply become slower, weaker, less effective, and you have no idea why. You attribute it to age, to stress, to bad luck, never realizing that you are being drained by your own unconscious mental habits. The constant low-level worry about money is a perfect example. It is not a sharp, intense fear that you feel for 5 minutes and then release. It is a dull, persistent anxiety that colors your entire day. You wake up thinking about bills. You check your bank balance and feel a twinge of fear. You see an advertisement for something you want and immediately think, I cannot afford that. You hear about someone else's success and feel a pang of envy mixed with worry that you are falling behind. This is not thinking. This is bleeding. You are hemorrhaging creative force into a worry that accomplishes nothing, that solves nothing, that serves only to drain your power and attract more lack into your life. Mulford would say that this constant worry is a prayer for poverty. You are investing your mental substance in the image of lack, and the universe is faithfully returning more lack to you. The judgment of others is another silent drain that most people never recognize. You see someone and immediately form an opinion. They are attractive or unattractive, successful or failing, worthy of respect or deserving of contempt. You do this automatically, unconsciously, dozens of times per day. Each judgment is a withdrawal from your power account. Each opinion you form about someone else's life is mental energy that you could have invested in your own life. Mulford would ask you a simple question. What did you gain from judging that stranger? Did it make you richer? Did it make you healthier? Did it move you closer to your goals? No. It did nothing except drain your battery and reinforce your habit of wasting energy on things that do not matter. The silent replay of an argument is perhaps the most common form of mental tattle-tailing. Someone said something that hurt you or angered you, and you cannot let it go. You replay the conversation in your mind, over and over, constructing better responses, imagining what you should have said, feeling the anger or hurt again and again with each replay. This is insanity. You are reliving a negative experience that has already ended, spending fresh creative force on an event that is over, draining yourself in the present to relive pain from the past. Mulford would tell you bluntly, every time you replay that argument, you are writing a check to your enemy. You are paying them with your life force. They are living rent-free in your mind, consuming your power, and you are the one authorizing the transaction. These silent drains kill your power because they are constant, because they are unconscious, and because they compound over time. One drip does not empty a bathtub, but 1,000 drips over the course of a day will leave you empty. Mulford's genius was in recognizing that the path to power is not found in grand gestures or heroic efforts. It is found in the small, consistent choice to plug the tiny leaks that most people never notice. It is found in the decision to stop judging, to stop worrying, to stop replaying, to stop mentally chattering about things that do not build your future. It is found in the discipline of silence, not just external silence, but internal silence, the quieting of the mental tattletale that bleeds your power hour by hour. This is the unshakable logic that Mulford presents. If thoughts are things, and if your power is finite, and if most of your power is leaking through unconscious mental habits, then the solution is obvious. Find the leaks, plug them, save your power, stop the waste. The person who masters this practice will have more creative force available at the end of the day than the person who allows their mind to run wild. More force means more voltage behind their visualizations. More voltage means faster and more dramatic manifestation. This is not mysticism. This is engineering. This is the practical mechanics of why some people's prayers are answered and others are not. It is not that the universe favors some and ignores others. It is that some people's prayers arrive with high voltage, and others arrive as dead calls, too weak to create an effect. Wallace Wattles stands as one of the great architects of abundance, and his central command echoes through the ages: you must get rich that you may live more. This is not greed. This is not materialism. This is the recognition that poverty contracts life, that lack diminishes your ability to express, to grow, to serve, to become. Wattles understood that wealth is a tool for expansion, and that the person who deliberately pursues riches in the right spirit is engaging in a holy act of self-development. But here is the bridge that most students of Wattles never cross. To get rich, you must have power. You must have voltage. You must have the energetic capacity to impress the formless substance with your vision, to hold that vision with intensity and faith until it materializes. Mulford enters at this precise point and says, you must save life that you may get rich. You must conserve your energy, plug the leaks, stop the waste, because if your battery is dead, your prayer for wealth has no power behind it. Consider the mechanics that Wattles describes. You are to hold a clear mental image of what you desire. You are to see it with perfect clarity, to feel grateful for it as if it already exists, to maintain this vision with unwavering faith until the formless substance, the universal creative medium, receives your impression and begins to manifest your desire in the physical world. This process requires energy. It requires mental voltage. It requires the sustained application of focused thought force over time. If your daily reservoir of creative energy is being drained by gossip, judgment, worry, and mental tattle-tailing, you simply do not have enough power left to impress the formless substance. Your vision is too weak. Your gratitude is hollow. Your faith flickers and dies because you are exhausted. You are trying to run a high-powered machine on a dying battery, and you wonder why it does not work. Mulford provides the missing piece of the prosperity puzzle. Wattles tells you what to do. Hold the vision, feel the gratitude, act with faith. Mulford tells you how to have the power to do it. He tells you that before you can be a successful creator, you must first become a successful conservator. You must audit your mental expenditures and eliminate the waste. You must stop leaking energy into the void and start accumulating it into a high-pressure reservoir that can drive your manifestations with unstoppable force. The person who attempts to follow Wattles' instructions without first applying Mulford's wisdom is like a person trying to drive a car with a hole in the gas tank. The instructions for driving are correct. Turn the key, press the accelerator, steer toward your destination. But the car will not move because the fuel is pouring out onto the ground. The connection is precise and unbreakable. Wattles is teaching you the science of impressing your will upon universal substance. Mulford is teaching you the science of having enough will to impress in the first place. The two teachings are not separate, they are sequential. First, you save your power by plugging the leaks. Second, you invest that accumulated power in a clear, sustained vision of what you desire. Without the first step, the second step is impossible. You can memorize Wattles' entire book. You can recite his principles perfectly. You can understand the logic of creative thought with absolute clarity. But if you are spending your mental substance on trivial irritations and pointless judgments, you will never manifest wealth. You lack the voltage. Your signal is too weak to reach the creative medium. This is why so many students of the prosperity teachings fail. They read the books. They understand the concepts. They practice the visualizations. But nothing happens. They become discouraged. They begin to doubt. They conclude that the teachings do not work, or that they work for others, but not for them. The truth is simpler and more brutal. They are energy leakers. They are trying to fill a bucket with holes. They spend 2 hours carefully pouring water into the bucket through visualization and affirmation, but they spend 20 hours allowing the water to leak out through worry, complaint, and mental chatter. At the end of the day, the bucket is empty, and they blame the water for not staying in a container they never bothered to repair. Wattles speaks of acting in a certain way, of thinking in a certain way, of holding a certain mental attitude. All of this requires energy, consistent, sustained, high-quality energy. If you need high-voltage energy to impress the formless substance, and if your battery is dead from gossiping about your neighbor or replaying yesterday's argument, your prayer for wealth has no voltage. It is a dead call. It does not reach the tower. The universe does not ignore you. The universe simply does not receive a strong enough signal to act upon. Mulford is teaching you how to build the signal strength. He is teaching you how to accumulate enough power that when you send out your vision, it arrives with such force that the universe has no choice but to respond. Think of a radio transmitter. If the transmitter has weak power, its signal travels only a few miles. A stronger transmitter sends the signal hundreds of miles. An even stronger transmitter broadcasts around the world. Your mind is a transmitter. Your thoughts are the broadcast. The formless substance is the receiver. When you visualize your goal, you are broadcasting a signal. The question is, how much power is behind that signal? If you have been leaking energy all day through unconscious mental habits, your broadcast is weak. It barely leaves your skull. But if you have conserved your energy, if you have plugged every leak and built up a massive charge of concentrated force, your broadcast is powerful. It reaches into the depths of the creative medium and begins to stir the substance into action. This is not metaphor, this is mechanics. Wattles tells you to get rich so you may live more. Mulford tells you to save life so you may get rich. These are not contradictory teachings. They are complementary halves of a complete system. Wattles provides the blueprint for manifestation. Mulford provides the fuel. You need both. A blueprint without fuel is useless. Fuel without a blueprint is wasted. But when you combine Mulford's conservation with Wattles' technique, you become unstoppable. You have the power and the method. You have the voltage and the vision. You have a sealed container and something worth containing. This is the bridge to capacity, the recognition that abundance requires both the knowledge of how to create and the energy to power the creation. The student who discovers this bridge will advance faster than 10 students who know only one side of the equation. The person who reads Wattles and applies his method while simultaneously reading Mulford and conserving their energy, will manifest wealth with a speed and certainty that seems miraculous to observers. But there is no miracle. There is only the combination of a clear vision, sustained with unwavering focus, powered by a reservoir of conserved life force that has been protected from the 1,000 daily leaks that drain ordinary people into exhaustion and poverty. This is the secret. This is the link. This is the truth that transforms knowledge into power. Thomas Troward, the judge who decoded the laws of mind, gave us the concept of the nucleus, the concentrated point of mental energy around which your entire manifestation will form. He taught that you must build a dense, coherent thought form in your mind, a clear and specific image of what you desire, and you must hold that nucleus steady while the universal creative power builds matter around it. The nucleus is the seed. The manifestation is the tree. But here is what Troward did not emphasize as strongly as Mulford. A nucleus requires containment. A seed must be protected. A nuclear reaction must be held within a reactor, or the energy escapes and the reaction stops. Mulford enters the conversation with the practical knowledge of how to keep the nucleus hot, how to maintain the reaction, how to prevent the dissipation of force that causes most manifestations to fail before they even begin. Consider the physics of a nuclear reaction. At the core of a nuclear power plant, atoms are splitting and releasing enormous amounts of energy. But this reaction only continues if the energy is contained. The reactor vessel holds the reaction in place. The cooling systems manage the heat. The control rods regulate the process, remove the containment, and the reaction dissipates. The energy escapes into the environment, and the power stops flowing. Your mind operates on the same principle. When you form a clear vision of your goal, you have initiated a reaction. Mental energy is being released. Creative force is beginning to organize around your nucleus. But if that energy leaks out through worry, doubt, distraction, or mental chatter, the reaction stops. The nucleus cools. The manifestation collapses back into formlessness. Mulford teaches the art of mental containment, and this is the missing piece that explains why Troward students sometimes struggle to manifest despite understanding the theory perfectly. They build the nucleus. They form the clear mental image. They understand that the subjective mind will impress the objective world, but they do not contain the energy. They allow it to leak. They build the nucleus in the morning through focused visualization, and then they spend the rest of the day puncturing it with doubts, diluting it with distractions, and draining it with emotional reactions to external circumstances. By evening, the nucleus is cold. The reaction has stopped. They must start over the next morning, and they wonder why their manifestation never reaches critical mass. The trained mind builds a nucleus and then seals it. It protects the thought form from contamination. It refuses to allow contradictory thoughts to enter the mental space where the nucleus resides. If the goal is wealth, the trained mind does not entertain thoughts of poverty. If the goal is health, the trained mind does not indulge in thoughts of sickness. If the goal is success, the trained mind does not replay memories of past failures. This is not denial. This is containment. This is the recognition that the nucleus must remain pure and hot if it is to do its work. Every time you think a thought that contradicts your goal, you have introduced cold water into the nuclear reactor. You have cooled the reaction. You have slowed the manifestation. Mulford would say that most people are constantly sabotaging their own nucleus. They spend 10 minutes in the morning building it through affirmations and visualization, carefully constructing a clear mental image of the life they desire. Then they go to work and spend 8 hours thinking thoughts that completely contradict that image. They worry about money, which is the opposite of wealth consciousness. They complain about their current circumstances, which reinforces those circumstances. They judge others, which leaks energy that should be focused on their own growth. By the end of the day, the nucleus they built in the morning has been completely dismantled by their own unconscious mental habits. They are building and destroying simultaneously, and they wonder why nothing ever changes. The art of mental containment requires vigilance. You must guard your nucleus the way a nuclear engineer guards a reactor. You must monitor every thought that approaches the nucleus and reject any thought that would cool the reaction. This is not easy. This requires a level of mental discipline that most people have never developed. But it is absolutely necessary if you want your manifestations to succeed. Troward can give you the theory. He can explain how the nucleus works, but Mulford gives you the practice. He gives you the daily, moment-by-moment work of protecting that nucleus from the 1,000 distractions and contradictions that seek to destroy it. Think of your nucleus as a fire. When you first light a fire, the flame is weak. It requires careful attention. You must shield it from the wind. You must feed it with dry wood. You must blow gently to give it oxygen without extinguishing it. If you neglect the fire for even a few minutes, it dies, and you must start over. The same is true of your mental nucleus. When you first form your vision, it is fragile. It requires protection. You must shield it from the winds of doubt and fear. You must feed it with positive, supportive thoughts. You must give it the oxygen of faith and expectation. If you neglect it, if you allow your attention to wander to worries and judgments, the flame dies, and you must start over. But if you guard it carefully, if you tend it with discipline, the flame grows stronger day by day until it becomes a roaring fire that cannot be extinguished. Mulford's teaching on containment is the bridge between theory and manifestation. Troward tells you to build the nucleus. Mulford tells you how to keep it intact. The student who understands both teachings will manifest with a certainty that borders on the mechanical. They will build a clear nucleus through visualization, and then they will contain the energy around that nucleus by refusing to leak force into distractions, by refusing to entertain contradictory thoughts, by refusing to engage in the mental tattle-tailing that drains ordinary people. Their nucleus will remain hot. The reaction will continue. The manifestation will form around their vision with mathematical inevitability. This is not wishful thinking. This is engineering. You are building a structure in the mental realm, and that structure requires both a strong foundation, the nucleus, and strong walls, the containment. Troward teaches you to build the foundation. Mulford teaches you to build the walls. Without the foundation, you have nothing to contain. Without the walls, the foundation erodes. But with both in place, you have created a vessel capable of holding and channeling enormous power, a mental reactor that will continue to generate creative force day after day until your vision materializes in the physical world with a completeness and perfection that will astonish even you. The verdict is clear. If you want your manifestations to succeed, you must master both the creation of the nucleus and the containment of the energy around it. You must become both an architect and an engineer. You must both design the vision and protect it from dissipation. Troward and Mulford together give you a complete system, and the person who masters both will possess a power of manifestation that the world will struggle to explain. They will be called lucky, talented, blessed, when in reality they are simply disciplined. They have learned to build the fire and keep it burning. Prentice Mulford gives a practical command that cuts through all complexity and reaches the heart of conservation. Keep your mouth shut. This is not advice about politeness or social grace. This is a direct instruction about energy management. Talking about your plans, talking about your problems, talking about the news, talking about the weather, talking about anything and everything that crosses your mind, all of it releases pressure. Every word you speak unnecessarily is a release valve that lets steam escape from the boiler of your mind. When you feel the urge to speak unnecessarily, suppress it. Hold that energy inside. Let it build. Let it accumulate. Let it turn into magnetism, into charisma, into the subtle force that attracts opportunities and people to you without you needing to say a word. Consider the mechanics of speech. When you speak, you externalize a thought. You take something that was internal and compressed, and you release it into the air. The thought is no longer building pressure inside you. It has escaped. If the thought was about your goal, you have just reduced its power by releasing the tension that was driving it toward manifestation. If the thought was about a problem, you have just reinforced the problem by giving it external expression. If the thought was about nothing important, just idle chatter, social filler, verbal noise, you have simply wasted energy. You have burned life force for no return. Mulford observed that most people talk incessantly, filling every silence with words, terrified of quiet. Addicted to the sound of their own voice, and this constant verbalization is one of the primary ways they drain their creative power. The person who learns to keep their mouth shut discovers something remarkable. Silence is magnetic. The person who speaks rarely commands more attention when they do speak. Their words carry weight because they are not diluted by constant chatter. More importantly, the energy that would have been released through speech remains inside, building pressure, intensifying focus, creating an internal charge that others can feel even when you say nothing. You become more powerful, more attractive, more influential simply by containing your force. This is not shyness. This is strategy. This is the deliberate choice to become a closed system, a sealed vessel, a container that does not leak. Talking about your plans is particularly destructive. When you share your vision with others before it has manifested, you release the tension that is driving the manifestation. You receive premature satisfaction from their reactions, praise, encouragement, or even skepticism that forces you to defend your vision. All of this dissipates the energy that should be compressed inside you, pushing the vision toward reality. Mulford would say that the person who announces their intentions loudly will rarely fulfill them, not because the universe punishes them, but because they have already received the emotional payoff through the announcement. The pressure is released. The drive is diminished. The manifestation loses its urgency. By contrast, the person who remains silent about their vision keeps all the pressure inside. The vision becomes an obsession, a constant background force that drives them forward because it has no other outlet. This is why secret plans succeed and public plans often fail. Talking about your problems is even worse. When you verbalize a problem, you are doing two things simultaneously. You are releasing energy that could be used to solve the problem, and you are reinforcing the problem in your consciousness by giving it external expression. The problem becomes more real, more solid, more embedded in your mental landscape with every retelling. You go to a friend and spend 30 minutes explaining your financial difficulties. You feel slightly better afterward because you have vented, but you have also just invested 30 minutes of creative force in building a stronger mental image of lack. You have reinforced poverty consciousness. You have strengthened the very condition you claim to want to escape. Mulford would tell you bluntly, if you want to solve a problem, stop talking about it. Keep your mouth shut. Take that energy you would have spent complaining and redirect it toward a mental image of the solution. Talking about the news is another massive energy drain that most people never recognize. The news is designed to trigger emotional reactions: fear, anger, outrage, anxiety. When you consume news and then talk about it, you are participating in a global energy drain. You are taking your finite daily reservoir of creative force and spending it on events you cannot control, people you will never meet, problems you cannot solve. You watch a report about political conflict, feel angry, call a friend, spend 20 minutes discussing how terrible everything is, and then wonder why you feel exhausted and depressed. Mulford would say you have just paid 20 minutes of life force to reinforce your sense of powerlessness and chaos. You have purchased despair with your mental currency. Keep your mouth shut about the news. Let others rage and worry. You have better uses for your energy. When you feel the urge to speak unnecessarily, pause. Notice the urge. Recognize it as a pressure valve that wants to release energy. Then make a conscious choice to keep that valve closed. Suppress the urge. Hold the energy inside. Feel it accumulating, building, intensifying. This is not comfortable. This is not natural for most people. Most people are addicted to the release of speech, the temporary relief of expressing whatever thought crosses their mind. But relief is not power. Relief is dissipation. Power comes from containment. The person who can sit through an entire conversation, listen deeply, and speak only when their words will have maximum impact is wielding a force that the constant chatterer will never possess. The energy you save by keeping your mouth shut does not disappear. It remains inside you, available for investment. You can feel it as a kind of internal pressure, a charge, a readiness. This is your power building. This is your magnetism increasing. This is your creative force accumulating into a reservoir that you can then direct with laser focus toward your goals. When you finally do speak, whether to affirm your vision, to take decisive action, or to communicate something truly important, your words will carry a voltage that commands attention and creates effects. You will speak rarely, but when you do, people will listen, because your words will arrive with the accumulated force of all the energy you did not waste on idle chatter. Mulford's command to keep your mouth shut is not about becoming antisocial or withdrawn. It is about becoming strategic with your energy. It is about recognizing that speech is a transaction, an expenditure, a release of force, and that most speech is a waste of that force. The person who masters this practice will find that they have more energy at the end of each day, more clarity in their thinking, more power in their presence, and more success in their manifestations. They have simply stopped the leak. They have kept the valve closed. They have allowed the pressure to build. And when they finally open the valve in a controlled, deliberate action toward their goal, the force that pours out will be unstoppable. Every time you catch yourself leaking energy, complaining about traffic, judging a stranger, worrying about money, replaying an old argument, you have a choice. You can simply stop the leak and consider it a minor victory. Or you can do something far more powerful. You can immediately redirect that same energy toward constructive use. Mulford teaches that the moment you recognize a leak is the moment of maximum opportunity, because the energy is already activated, already moving, already available. You are not trying to generate new energy. You are simply changing the direction of existing energy from destructive to constructive, from waste to investment. This practice turns every potential liability into an asset. Every moment of weakness becomes a moment of training. Every leak becomes an opportunity to strengthen your vision. The technique is simple, but requires vigilance. The moment you notice yourself complaining, whether out loud or silently in your mind, stop immediately. Do not finish the complaint. Do not justify it. Do not explain to yourself why you have a right to complain. Simply stop the energy mid-flow. Then in that exact moment, redirect that energy. Use that same force, that same intensity, that same activation to visualize your goal. If you were about to complain about your financial situation, stop, and instead visualize abundance flowing into your life. If you were about to judge someone's appearance, stop, and instead visualize yourself as the person you are becoming. The energy that was about to be wasted is now being invested. The force that was about to drain your battery is now charging it. This practice is transformative because it addresses both sides of the equation simultaneously. You are stopping the leak, which prevents further loss of energy, and you are redirecting the flow, which means you are actually gaining power rather than simply conserving it. Think of it as a river. If the river is flowing in the wrong direction, away from your farmland and into the desert, you are losing water. If you build a dam to stop the flow, you save the water from being wasted. But if you then dig a new channel that redirects the river toward your farmland, you have not only stopped the waste, but also gained irrigation. Your crops grow. Your land thrives. Mulford is teaching you to be the engineer who not only stops the waste, but also redirects the flow toward productivity. The statement to use is powerful in its simplicity. I refuse to spend this currency on trash. I invest it in my vision. Say this silently to yourself every time you catch a leak. This statement does several things at once. First, it acknowledges that thought is currency, that mental energy is something valuable that you spend every moment of every day. Second, it recognizes that you are about to spend that currency on something worthless, trash, garbage, waste. Third, it declares your intention to invest that currency in something valuable, your vision, your goal, your future. And fourth, it empowers you by reminding you that you have control over where your mental energy flows. You are not a victim of your thoughts. You are the director of your thoughts. You choose where the energy goes. The consistency of this practice is what creates the transformation. The first time you redirect a leak, the effect is small. You save a single unit of energy and invest it constructively. But if you do this 10 times in a day, you have saved 10 units of waste and added 10 units of investment. A swing of 20 units in your favor. If you do this 100 times in a day, the effect is massive. You are systematically closing every hole in your energetic bucket, while simultaneously filling that bucket with fresh, directed force. Over weeks and months, this practice compounds. You become a person who leaks very little and invests very much. Your power accumulates. Your vision intensifies. Your manifestations accelerate. Mulford observed that the untrained mind is full of reflexes, automatic reactions to stimuli that drain energy without conscious choice. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you automatically feel anger. You see a bill, and you automatically feel anxiety. You remember a past failure, and you automatically feel regret. These reflexes are leaks, but they feel involuntary. The trained mind replaces reflexes with responses. A response is conscious. A response is chosen. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you notice the beginning of anger, you recognize it as a leak, and you immediately redirect. I refuse to spend this currency on trash. I invest it in my vision. The anger dissolves. The energy is saved. Your vision becomes brighter. You have just turned a liability into an asset. The practice of immediate redirection also trains your mind to associate negative stimuli with positive outcomes. Over time, you begin to welcome the moments when you notice a leak, because those moments become opportunities to strengthen your vision. A problem at work used to drain you. Now it triggers an immediate redirection to your vision of success. A financial worry used to consume you. Now it triggers an immediate visualization of abundance. You have reprogrammed your mental reflexes. The things that used to weaken you now strengthen you. This is mental alchemy, the transformation of lead into gold, of waste into power, of curse into blessing. The person who masters this practice will find that their internal experience changes dramatically. Life becomes less exhausting because they are no longer constantly bleeding energy. Challenges become less overwhelming because each challenge is now an opportunity to redirect force toward the goal. The vision becomes more vivid and more real because it is being fed constantly, not just during formal visualization sessions, but throughout the entire day, every time a leak is caught and redirected. This is not about being positive. This is not about denial or toxic optimism. This is about being strategic with your energy, about refusing to let any force go to waste, about becoming so efficient with your mental currency that every single unit is working to build your future. Mulford's teaching here is ruthlessly practical. He is not asking you to become a saint or to never have a negative thought. He is simply asking you to catch those thoughts when they occur and redirect the energy before it is wasted. The negative thought itself is not the problem. The problem is allowing the energy behind that thought to flow toward destruction rather than construction. Every time you catch a leak and redirect it, you are becoming more powerful. Every time you fail to catch it, you are becoming weaker. The choice, moment by moment, is always yours, and the cumulative effect of those choices over time will determine whether you manifest your vision or remain trapped in patterns of waste and exhaustion. Prentice Mulford goes further than teaching mere mental hygiene or prosperity mechanics. He ventures into territory that most would consider radical, the connection between mental energy conservation and physical aging. He makes a claim that sounds impossible to modern ears, but is grounded in a logic that becomes undeniable once you accept his premises. These energy leaks cause aging. Fretfulness, cynicism, and anger are not just unpleasant emotions. They are not just obstacles to success. They are physical destructive forces that carve lines on your face, weaken your cells, deteriorate your organs, and accelerate the decay of your body. Conserving energy is not just the secret of success. It is the secret of eternal youth. The person who stops leaking mental force will not only become more prosperous, but will also become more vibrant, more energetic, and more physically youthful, regardless of their chronological age. Consider the relationship between emotion and physiology. Modern science has confirmed what Mulford knew intuitively. Chronic stress damages the body. Cortisol floods your system during moments of anger or fear, and sustained high cortisol levels break down tissue, weaken immunity, and accelerate cellular aging. But Mulford understood this connection at a deeper level. He recognized that negative emotions are not just triggers for biochemical cascades. They are expenditures of life force itself. When you worry chronically, you are not just producing cortisol. You are spending the subtle energy that maintains your cellular integrity. When you indulge in cynicism, you are not just adopting a negative attitude. You are draining the force that keeps your cells regenerating properly. When you allow anger to flow through you repeatedly, you are not just feeling bad. You are literally burning up your life, consuming your vitality, and aging yourself at an accelerated rate. The mechanism is precise. Your body is maintained by the same life force that powers your thoughts. There is not a separate reservoir of physical energy and mental energy. There is one reservoir, one battery, one source of power that must serve all functions. When you spend that power on negative emotions, on mental tattle-tailing, on worry and judgment, you are not leaving enough power for cellular repair, for immune function, for the constant work of regeneration that keeps you young. Your body begins to break down not because of chronological time, but because of energy starvation. You have spent your life force on trash, and your cells are starving for the energy they need to renew themselves. This is why worried people look old. This is why bitter people age rapidly. This is why the chronically angry develop lines, wrinkles, and a hardness of expression. They are quite literally wearing their energy leaks on their faces. Fretfulness is particularly destructive because it is constant. It is not a single burst of anger that depletes you and then releases. It is a steady drip of anxiety that runs all day, every day siphoning life force away from your body's maintenance systems. The person who wakes up worrying and goes to bed worrying is in a state of chronic energy drain. Their cells are operating in survival mode, unable to invest in growth or repair because all available energy is being consumed by the worry response. Over time, this manifests as fatigue, illness, and premature aging. The worried person at 50 looks 70. The calm person at 70 looks 50. The difference is not genetics. The difference is energy management. The calm person has conserved their force. The worried person has poured it into the void. Cynicism ages you by hardening your spirit, and a hardened spirit produces a hardened body. The cynic has decided that life is disappointing, that people cannot be trusted, that hope is foolish. This mental stance requires constant energy expenditure to maintain. Every time something good happens, the cynic must mentally explain it away or diminish it to maintain their worldview. Every time they see someone happy, they must find a reason why that happiness is false or temporary. This constant mental labor drains enormous amounts of energy while producing no value. The body of the cynic begins to reflect their mental state, rigid, brittle, closed, old. Their face takes on a suspicious cast. Their posture becomes defensive. They age rapidly because they are spending vast amounts of energy maintaining a negative interpretation of reality. Anger is perhaps the most visibly destructive emotion. You can see it on people's faces immediately: the flushed skin, the tightened jaw, the narrowed eyes. These are not just expressions. They are symptoms of energy being burned at an unsustainable rate. Anger is a high-consumption emotional state. It floods your system with adrenaline, spikes your blood pressure, and demands enormous amounts of life force to sustain. The person who indulges in frequent anger is living in a constant state of emergency, and the body cannot maintain itself properly under emergency conditions. Anger carves lines on your face because it is quite literally destroying tissue. The angry person ages visibly, rapidly, and dramatically. Look at any chronically angry person over the age of 40, and you will see a face that appears a decade older than their years. This is not coincidence. This is cause and effect. Mulford's prescription is radical but logical. Conserve energy, and you conserve youth. Stop the leaks of worry, anger, and cynicism, and suddenly your body has access to the life force it needs to maintain itself properly. Your cells can repair, your immune system can function, your organs can regenerate. You do not age because of time. You age because of energy starvation. Give your body back the energy you have been wasting on negative emotions, and it will begin to reverse the aging process. This is not metaphysical speculation. This is practical observation. The person who learns to conserve mental energy will notice physical changes: more vitality, better sleep, clearer skin, brighter eyes, improved posture. They are not imagining this. They are experiencing the natural result of proper energy management. The relationship between mental state and physical condition is bidirectional. Your thoughts affect your body, and your body affects your thoughts. When you conserve energy through mental discipline, your body becomes more vital, and that vitality makes it easier to maintain mental discipline. A positive spiral begins. You worry less because you have more energy, and you have more energy because you worry less. You feel younger because you have stopped aging yourself through energy waste, and because you feel younger, you think younger thoughts, which further conserves your energy. This is the secret of those rare individuals who seem ageless, who radiate vitality at 70 or 80, who move and think and act like people half their chronological age. They are not genetically superior, they are not lucky, they are energy conservators. They have mastered the art of not wasting their life force on the negative emotions that age ordinary people. Mulford understood that the body is not a machine that runs down inevitably. It is a self-renewing system that maintains itself as long as it has access to sufficient energy. The only reason most people age rapidly and deteriorate in health is that they are chronically starving their bodies of the energy needed for maintenance by spending that energy on mental and emotional waste. This is the unspoken tragedy of modern life. People are aging themselves unnecessarily, destroying their own vitality through unconscious mental habits, and then accepting this destruction as inevitable when it is entirely preventable. The person who accepts Mulford's teaching and implements it consistently will not just become more successful, they will become more alive. They will possess a quality of energy and presence that others cannot explain but can clearly feel. You have the power to recreate yourself daily. This is not a metaphor. This is not an inspirational platitude. This is a statement of mechanical fact based on the principles Mulford has revealed. By stopping the energy leaks that drain your creative force, you build up a surplus of power. This surplus does not sit idle. It cannot sit idle. Energy must flow. It must express. It must create. When you are no longer hemorrhaging your force into worry, anger, judgment, and complaint, that force naturally overflows into new ideas, new charisma, and new wealth. You become a generator that hums with excess power, attracting everyone and everything around you toward your orbit, not because you are trying to attract, but because you have become magnetic simply by becoming full. The concept of daily recreation rests on a simple truth. You are not a fixed entity. You are a process. Every cell in your body is in constant flux, being destroyed and rebuilt, dying and being replaced. Your thoughts are in constant flux, arising and dissolving, forming and reforming. The question is not whether you are being recreated. You are being recreated constantly. The question is what pattern is guiding that recreation. If your dominant thoughts are worry and lack, you are recreating yourself as a worried, impoverished person. If your dominant thoughts are judgment and anger, you are recreating yourself as a bitter, isolated person. But if your dominant thoughts are focused on your vision, infused with gratitude and expectation, you are recreating yourself as the successful, abundant person you desire to be. The surplus of power that accumulates when you stop the leaks is the raw material for this recreation. Think of it as uncommitted energy, creative force that is available for investment rather than being drained away in waste. When you conserve this energy day after day, it begins to accumulate into a reservoir that you can draw upon for manifestation. This surplus naturally seeks expression. It wants to flow into form, and because you have been directing your thoughts toward your vision, the surplus flows in that direction. New ideas arrive seemingly from nowhere. These are not random. They are the natural offspring of your accumulated power-seeking expression. New opportunities appear. These are not coincidences. They are the magnetic effect of your surplus drawing circumstances toward you. New people enter your life. These are not accidents. They are responding to the increased voltage of your presence. Charisma is nothing more than detectable energy surplus. When you meet someone who has conserved their energy effectively, you feel something. You cannot always name it, but you feel drawn to them. They have presence. They command attention without trying. Their words carry weight. Their silence creates curiosity. This is not personality. This is power. This is the tangible effect of a reservoir that is full rather than empty. The person who leaks constantly has no charisma because they have no surplus. They are running on fumes, barely maintaining basic function, with nothing left over to radiate. But the person who has plugged the leaks has energy to spare, and that spare energy radiates outward as charisma, as magnetism, as the quality that makes others want to be near them, work with them, follow them. New wealth follows naturally from this process. Wealth is not random. Wealth flows to those who can attract it, and attraction requires magnetic force. When you have built up a surplus of conserved energy, you become a magnet for financial opportunity. You notice possibilities that others miss because your mind is alert and powerful, rather than drained and dull. You attract the attention of people who can help you because they feel your energy and want to associate with it. You make better decisions because you have the mental clarity that comes from operating with a full battery rather than an empty one. This is why Mulford insists that conservation is the foundation of prosperity. You cannot attract wealth while bleeding energy. But when you seal the leaks and build the surplus, wealth comes to you with an ease that will confuse those who do not understand the mechanics. The recreation of self is most visible in your daily state. When you wake up after a night of sleep, you have been partially recharged. But if you immediately begin leaking through worry, complaint, and judgment, you deplete yourself before the day has truly begun. By contrast, if you wake up and immediately seal yourself against leaks, consciously directing your thoughts toward your vision, you preserve your morning energy and allow it to build throughout the day. Each hour that passes without a major leak is an hour in which your power accumulates. By evening, instead of being exhausted and depleted as most people are, you are still charged, still alert, still capable. You have recreated yourself as a powerful being by the simple act of not wasting the energy you were given. This daily practice compounds over weeks, months, and years. The person who conserves energy consistently does not just become slightly more successful than their leaking peers. They become exponentially more successful. The gap widens day by day. After a year of conservation versus a year of leaking, the difference in life outcomes is dramatic. After 5 years, the conservator and the leaker are living in different worlds. After a decade, they are different people. One is vital, successful, magnetic, and seemingly ageless. The other is exhausted, struggling, invisible, and prematurely old. Same starting point, same opportunities, different choices about energy management, different results. Mulford's vision of recreation is ultimately a vision of freedom. You are not trapped by your current circumstances. You are not limited by your past. You are not doomed to repeat patterns that have failed you. You have the power, right now, in this moment, to begin the process of recreation by making the choice to stop leaking your force. Every leak you prevent is an act of self-creation. Every redirect of energy toward your vision is an act of manifestation. The accumulation of these small choices creates a momentum that becomes unstoppable. You become a generator that hums with excess power, and that power attracts everything you need to fulfill your vision. This is not magic. This is mechanics. This is the natural result of treating your energy as the sacred resource that it is, and investing it wisely rather than scattering it carelessly into the void. Your energy is your capital. This is the synthesis of everything Prentice Mulford taught, the central insight that unlocks all the rest. In a world obsessed with money, with possessions, with external accumulations of wealth, Mulford redirects your attention to the only capital that truly matters, the mental and vital energy you possess each day. Money can be lost and regained, possessions can be destroyed and replaced, but your daily reservoir of creative force is all you have. It is finite. It is non-renewable within a given day. Once spent, it is gone until sleep restores a portion of it. Therefore, the most important financial decision you make is not how you spend your money, it is how you spend your energy. Do not spend it on things you do not want to buy. Do not throw it away on anger, worry, judgment, and complaint. These are purchases, and you are buying exhaustion, failure, and accelerated aging. Conserve your capital. Invest it wisely. Build your fortune not in dollars, but in accumulated power. Mulford's warning echoes across more than a century, as relevant today as when he first spoke it. To think is to send out force. Be careful how you use it. Every thought is a transaction. Every thought is a broadcast. Every thought is an investment that will return results, positive or negative, constructive or destructive, depending on the nature of the thought. You cannot afford to be careless with this force. You cannot afford to think unconsciously, allowing your mind to react to every stimulus, to judge every person, to worry about every possibility. The universe does not distinguish between conscious and unconscious transmission. It simply receives your thoughts and returns circumstances that match them. The person who sends out thoughts of lack receives lack. The person who sends out thoughts of abundance receives abundance. The person who sends out thoughts of nothing, just scattered mental noise, receives nothing of value. Mulford is warning you to treat thought as the powerful force it is, to handle it with the same care you would handle electricity or fire, because it is just as real and just as dangerous when misused. His teaching is not about repression or denial, it is about stewardship. You are a steward of immense power, the power of creative thought. That power has been given to you not to waste but to use, not to scatter but to focus, not to leak but to direct. The master uses force carefully, knowing that every expenditure must serve a purpose, must build toward a goal, must create value. The fool uses force carelessly, spending it on every passing fancy, every emotional trigger, every distraction, and then wonders why they live in poverty and chaos. Mulford is inviting you to become the master, to treat your thought force as the precious resource it is, to become deliberate and strategic in its use. This is the message of empowerment. You already have the power. You have always had it. The only question is whether you will continue to waste it or whether you will finally begin to use it wisely. The empowerment comes from the recognition that you are not helpless. You are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are not trapped by your current conditions. You have access to the same creative force that builds worlds, and that force flows through your thoughts. When you conserve that force, when you direct it with clarity and focus, when you refuse to let it leak away into the void, you become unstoppable. Problems that seemed insurmountable become manageable. Goals that seemed impossible become inevitable. Circumstances that seemed fixed begin to shift. This is not because the universe suddenly favors you. This is because you have finally learned to use your power properly. You have stopped trying to fill a bucket with holes. You have sealed the leaks, and now the accumulation can begin. Mulford empowers you by removing the excuse of powerlessness. You cannot blame your lack of success on insufficient talent, on bad luck, on unfair circumstances. Once you understand that you have been leaking your power day after day through unconscious mental habits. The moment you accept responsibility for your energy management, you gain the power to change everything. This is simultaneously humbling and exhilarating. Humbling because you must admit that you have been sabotaging yourself. Exhilarating because you now know that the solution is entirely within your control. You do not need anyone's permission. You do not need external resources. You simply need to stop the waste and redirect the flow. Everything you need to create the life you desire is already within you, waiting to be conserved and properly used. The empowerment extends to your relationship with time. You are not running out of time. You are running out of energy. The person who conserves their energy effectively accomplishes more in a day than the leaker accomplishes in a week. Not because they work harder, but because they work with a full battery. Every task is easier. Every decision is clearer. Every action is more effective. This is why Mulford's teaching is ultimately liberating. It reveals that the constraints you have been feeling are self-imposed. You have been exhausting yourself through waste and then blaming the world for your exhaustion. Stop the waste, and you will discover reserves of energy you did not know you possessed. Stop the waste, and time itself seems to expand because you are no longer dragging yourself through the day on fumes. Mulford's message of empowerment culminates in this truth. You are designed for greatness. The life force that flows through you is the same force that creates galaxies. The only thing standing between you and the full expression of that force is your habit of leaking it through trivial thoughts and destructive emotions. This habit is learned, and what is learned can be unlearned. You can, starting today, begin to rewire your mental reflexes, to catch the leaks, to redirect the flow, to build the pressure that will drive your manifestations into reality. You are not limited by your past patterns. You are not doomed to repeat your failures. You have the power in this moment to change everything simply by changing how you manage the creative force you possess. This is the ultimate empowerment, the recognition that your destiny is in your hands, not in your circumstances, and that the key to unlocking that destiny is learning to conserve and wisely use the energy that is already yours. Plug the holes. This is the challenge Mulford lays before you. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when circumstances improve. Now, today. In this moment, you know where the leaks are. You have recognized them throughout this journey. The worry that runs in the background of your mind, the judgment you pass on strangers, the complaint you rehearse mentally about your circumstances, the anger you harbor about past injustices, the gossip you engage in silently or aloud, the replay of arguments that are long over, the fear about a future that has not arrived. These are the holes. These are the leaks that drain your power day after day. You can continue to allow them, or you can make the decision to plug them. The choice is always yours, but the choice must be made. Every day you delay is a day of wasted power, a day of lost opportunity, a day further from the manifestation of your vision. Fill the tank. Once the holes are plugged, the accumulation begins automatically. You do not need to do anything special to generate power. You generate power simply by being alive. The problem was never insufficient power. The problem was always the leaks. When you seal the leaks, your tank begins to fill naturally. You wake up with a charge. You conserve that charge throughout the day by refusing to spend it on waste. By evening, instead of being empty, you are full. The next morning you add to the surplus. Day by day, week by week, the tank fills. The pressure builds. Your visualizations gain voltage. Your affirmations carry weight. Your actions produce results. This is not a slow process once you commit to it. The person who genuinely seals the leaks will notice changes within days. More energy, more clarity, more magnetism, more opportunities appearing. The tank fills faster than you expect when you stop draining it. Are you ready to drive? This is the question that determines everything. You have been parked in the driveway long enough. You have watched the fuel leak out long enough. You have wondered why you are not moving long enough. The Ferrari is real. The engine is perfect. The destination is set. All that remains is the decision to keep the fuel in the tank and press the accelerator. Mulford has given you the map. He has shown you where the leaks are and how to seal them. He has explained the mechanics of power conservation and energy redirection. The information is complete. The instruction is clear. Now comes the moment of truth. Will you act on this knowledge? Or will you return to your habitual patterns of waste? The decision you make in the next few days will determine the trajectory of your entire life. Choose to plug the leaks, and you begin a journey toward power and manifestation. Choose to ignore this teaching, and you remain where you are, watching your potential drain away. Write in the comments, "I save my power." This is not a trivial request. This is a declaration. This is a public commitment. This is the moment when you move from passive reception of information to active implementation of wisdom. When you write these words, you are making a contract with yourself and announcing it to the universe. You are saying, "I have heard the teaching. I accept the truth. I commit to the practice. I will seal the leaks. I will conserve my energy. I will redirect my force toward my vision." This is no longer theoretical. This is no longer interesting information. This is now my way of life. The act of writing the commitment activates something within you. It moves the teaching from your head to your heart. It transforms knowledge into power. Do not skip this step. Do not think it is unnecessary. Every master knows that the spoken or written declaration has force. It commits you. It holds you accountable. It begins the transformation. Let the pressure build. Once you have made the commitment, your only job is consistency. Every day you audit your thoughts. Every day you catch the leaks. Every day you redirect wasted energy toward your vision. Every day the pressure builds. You are not trying to force anything. You are not straining. You are simply sealing the system and allowing the natural accumulation to occur. Pressure builds in a sealed container automatically. The more you conserve, the more pressure accumulates. The more pressure accumulates, the more powerful your manifestations become. There will come a point, and it will come sooner than you think, when the pressure is so great that your vision must materialize. It has no choice. The force behind it is irresistible. This is the moment when doubters will call you lucky. This is the moment when observers will struggle to explain your success. But you will know the truth. You plugged the holes, you filled the tank, you let the pressure build, and now you are simply receiving the inevitable result of proper energy management. This is not magic. This is mechanics. This is the science of conservation applied to the most powerful force in the universe, creative thought. You are ready. Plug the holes, fill the tank, let the pressure build. Your journey begins now,